Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
And it's Bjorn Andreasen who is leading them out. The world champion for esports in 2023 is leading the pack out in the finale of the 2023 Sunday Race Club.
It is the last climb, it's the last route to the summit. We're making our way up on to the top. Look at the riders. It's so similar across the 4 race groups.
Well, he's pushing on as Waterclays pushes to Trojanowski is coming, but he's not going to come fast enough as Clays goes round the corner. That is the banner, that is the finish line. Waterclays takes the win on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Marcin Trojanowski, he can see that banner surely by now. He's just in front of him, but look at the kick from Sergio Hoyos. Hoyos is coming. It's going to be about the run to the line. Trojanowski is going to lead them through. He takes the win.
This is a game of cat and mouse in the last 300 metres. Diduch has gone first. Diduch goes at 12 watts per kilo. He sees that finish line. Can anybody match him? I think Andre Diduch is going to take the win.
You can see the UCI banner. It's that white banner. It says Merry Christmas. It says Happy New Year. Well, the best present you can have is a win. It's a win for Adam Treshow. The response behind is coming from Bogren. Bogren is trying to pull the pace up, but has he got his timing right? The gap is coming down as they come to the line. Gonsolin has the lead, but here comes Bogren. Here comes Diduch. Diduch is coming up on him. I think it's going to be Diduch or Bogren. Bogren, I think, gets that from Diduch. It's 2024. It's Sunday. It's time for the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's time to get on with some racing. We've had some amazing action in our women's race. We're now moving on to our men's race here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. My name's Matt Payne. You can get hold of me at Matt Fixer Payne. Please do get in touch. I'm here in the studios, in our subterranean studio with the one and only
Emma Martin.
And Emma, we can get hold of you at biking_Emma.
You can do indeed on Instagram, and please do get in touch.
So we have got a start of a new year, which means that we're going to be going into qualifier number 1. It's the very start of our season. Now, if you haven't been with us before, we have 4 or 5 qualifiers, depends, or 3 qualifiers, depending on how long the month is. And then we go to our finals. The first qualifier, we are going to Colombia. Emma, take us through the route.
Oh, sorry, I was just enamoured by the little cyclist riding in Colombia. So that is where we're going today. We're heading to the Paso Alto. This is qualifier race number 1. We've got 45 kilometres of racing, 914 metres of climbing, 19 kilometres of climbing in total on this course today. So the first 21.9 kilometres are fairly flat, and there are a number of sprint segments along the way. Then we have 2 climbs, one category 2 climb, and then another category 2 climb to finish. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
4 race starts. Category 1 in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue, and Category 4 in red, who will be our first race starters. They get 5 minutes head start on Category 3, Categories 4 and 3, in the same world, so can both draft and catch each other. And in Category 3, we have the Mighty Ducks, Spinergy, Anzacs, Upcycled, and X-Pro. For the Mighty Ducks, Casagrande, Rooney, Caronia, and Jacobonis. For Spinergy, Venati, Columbari. For the Anzacs, we've got McMurtry, Noack, Francis, and Yates. Upcycled are represented by Schoberg, Lloyd, Maillard, and Quadrelli. Next pro have Kalman for their rider, Matthias Kalman, taking them to the start line. But they are just part of a massive race field, and we'll be running through those in a second. So here we are on the race start. It's going to be time to send away our riders in the men's race, the very first race of 2024 for the men's competition. Really key to make sure you get a good start. Here we go. We're hitting the roads. It's time to go on this MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Category 4 away.
So Category 4 are up. They are out of the pen. 45 riders on start sheets today. Mark Dadson comes back to Cat 4. Luke Allport, Joy Kaluma is in here. Florian Dromard is here. Efren Mambert, Cameron Dadson as well. So the 2 Dadsons back in the same category again. Bart Vandendries in here as well as Andres Londero. But it's Scott Francis putting down the hammer as they come out of that start pen. So Francis setting off. He's setting off fast. Francis, one of the Anzacs, absolutely pushing on one of those teams. And, well, they know it's a fast first 22 kilometres because it is pretty much flat. And we don't normally see the attacks coming in until we get to the bridges in Colombia. So Francis pushing on.
And it is traditional, isn't it, that we have at least one rider in Category 4 heading off down the road and making it, or trying to make everybody react to them and maybe catch out anybody who's been left behind. And you see that left-hand side of your screen. So let's have a quick run through, first of all, before we go too much further in, of what you can see on your screen. Dead centre, whole load of riders. That's your race field. We're watching Stephen Mulligan at the moment. He's highlighted on the right-hand side in a blue bar. As you can see, he is in 16th position. Now it's a 13th, and as that moves, as he moves around the pack. Dead centre above him, that is his stats. So we have, he's on the start of the lap. He's covered 1 kilometre of 45 kilometres. You can see his power, and importantly, his power to weight ratio, the watts per kilo, really important. You can see that the watts are in green or in white. When they are green, that's good. When you're in white, it means that you're in the wind and you're having to make extra energy. Elapsed time, very obvious what that is. Heart rate, again, how hard is he working, and the pedal cadence, or the revs per minute. Left-hand side, down at the bottom, you can see our satellite navigation or radar view. This gives us an indication of where our riders are. You can see at the moment we're in with the centre of those 3 groups. And that is our big chasing peloton. At the moment we have riders behind, and we have 1 rider up the road in front. And we can see that at the moment they are travelling at 36 to 37 kilometres an hour on the screen. Right-hand side, we have our course profile. Now, that is the very horizontal, flat, almost flat-lined course profile.
There's a little bump.
There is a little bump, and that's where the heart rate will probably do something very similar to the profile. Gradient is in there in percentage, 0% at the moment for Scott Francis, who is in 1. And below the profile, as Scott gives us away, thank you, Scott.
Just taking the adulation of the crowd.
Indeed. So directly below, you can see that Scott is in number 1, Robert Cronje and co behind it. You can see that the time gap is a monumental 13 seconds at the moment, which is a good gap to get in the first 2 kilometres. I would put you a lot of ice cream that he's not 13 kilometres down the road. He hasn't got 13 seconds.
So I just have one question before we move into Category 3 in the start pen. Category 4, we've got 5 teams represented today, but in Category 4, we normally have Team Tiny Visma.
Well, yes.
Do they have to change their name now?
Yeah, no jumbo allowed. It is now Visma. Bike, Visma Lisa bike for the pros. There's no jumbo, so jumbo has gone.
Jumbo versus tiny. I got the pun. I think they're going to have to change their name, and I'm going to be so upset because I loved Team Tiny Visma.
It might be the Team Visma Lisa Avatar.
Who knows?
We will find out.
Well, we will indeed find out when we get to the end of the month in the team competition. But for now, Matt, let's head down into the start pens with Category 3.
So Category 3, the first step up the ladder as we move up in our riders. A big field of riders in here. The Anzac Wolfpack, the Italian Espresso and the Silver Snatchers taking to the start lines today. The Anzac Wolfpack have been very strong. The Italian Espresso are very much like having a triple espresso. They tend to go off like absolute lunatics. And we've got the Silver Snatchers, no goal grabbers today.
But the Silver Snatchers took the win last week in the December final from the gold grabbers by 1 minute 11 seconds. So they were not second place then.
Yeah, definitely not dull and tarnished. Definitely all shiny and ready to go. So Category 3 down in the start pen and ready to head out.
Moreno is the rider we are in with as the pack push on. They're pushing out of the start pen and on to the course. It's a huge pack of Category 3 riders today. 53 riders on the start sheets as Johan Moreno pushes on and out of the pen and ensures they are up to pace very, very quickly. Now, a number of riders coming up from Category 4 this month. Ola Warren, who we've seen absolutely crucial in part and parcel of those Category 4 top 5s and making the play, moving up to Category 4. Largo moving up. Adriano Zanaska moving up as well. Always riding strong in Category 4. Going to be interesting to see what they can do in Cat 3.
Adriano Zanaska, one of our more senior riders in the race field. In his, I think he's in his 70s. I might be doing
age
with his 70s.
Age is never an issue.
It's not. I tell you something.
Age is just a number.
You don't stop riding when you get old. You get old when you stop riding.
Oh, I like that.
I saw it on a T-shirt.
Did you?
Yeah.
You're commentating a T-shirt slogan.
I am indeed. I'm commentating. Well, there's some great ones, a bit like caffeine loading on mine or bonjour on some of the teams behind the scenes that people don't get to hear and see. Well, I think today it's got let's go on everybody's T-shirt today. We've seen another attack off the front. Can he match Category 4, get 13 seconds in the first 2K? We're approaching the end of the first kilometre.
Well, it's Johan Moreno who's going for glory at the moment. He is up and out and on the front. He's having his moment on the camera. Will his moment on the camera extend to the finish line today? Well, it's definitely ready at the start.
And if you just moved up from Category 4 to Category 3 and you're thinking, oh, I've got away from those lightning starts where somebody sets off down the road. No, it's not happened. It's Moreno's saying, welcome to Category 3. There is a star-studded field in here, and if we were to read everybody who was likely to be up there in Category 3, we'd be reading pretty much every name. The same, I think, is true of all of our categories 1, 2, 3 and 4, and Category 4 well underway. Now, the gap between Category 4 and 3, 5 minutes at the start. The gap between Categories 3 and 2 is 10 minutes. That means that there's quite a big gap between Category 3 and 2, but they're not in the same world. Two parallel worlds, Category 3 and 4 in one, Category 1 and 2 in another.
Now, can I just say, Scott Francis is still at the head of this race now, 10 seconds ahead of the chasing group, but the push has come on the chasing group from behind because they have started to go up and over the bridges in Colombia. Really interesting to see that Johan Moreno has taken the same type of approach as Francis, pushing through and off of the front of that pack really early on in Category 3. Now, Matt, Category 4 and Category 3, I think, are our most competitive categories. 13 riders in Category 4 took top 5 positions in December. 18 riders in Category 3. The strength and the depth in these two fields is great.
Now, coming from a road background, which is my competitive background, although I probably would say I actually love riding my mountain bike more than my road bike, I always try and sort of compare this to how race fields were when I was racing on a different discipline. And Category 4 is that mass race format, and that is where things get really spicy, because this is where people are learning what they're doing. In theory, you can find that you've got some ex-pro come on a comeback trail, you find somebody brand new, you find people prepared to have a go as well. So we saw Scott Francis there getting reabsorbed in after putting in, he got a gap of 13-15 seconds and then it was pulled back over the bridges. I think that's really, for me, something that I tend to do, and something I think that absolutely just doesn't work.
Well, Matt, are you saying you're a little bit gung-ho?
Oh, I am, yeah, totally. I think
Matt's style of racing.
My style of racing, aggressive,
gung-ho,
trying to force the action, and ultimately doomed to failure.
Well,
almost always.
I'm hoping that Johan Moreno's strategy isn't ultimately doomed to failure like Matt's, but he is still out on the front as he goes underneath the banner for the Amazon Lake Sprint. The rest of the pack are coming in hot behind. That's the end of the sprint, the first sprint on the boardwalk. Moreno still 7 seconds clear, but it's Dexter Abello who is pushing on, who's taken the green jersey. So you'll notice that the blue jersey changes to the green skin suit.
And that skin suit signifying the fastest in the category through the sprints. The sprint points 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 are added up, and the person who is leading takes away and wears the green skin suit. It's done as much, I think, to catch Emma and I out when we're talking about the racing as it is you watching and our riders on the way through, because remember, it can get quite entertaining if the riders were to come together. Now, it's not so much a problem here in categories 3 and 4 because they are in blue and red respectively. When we go to category 2, when it is a green jersey, that gets a bit more entertaining. As you can see, categories 1 and 2 on the top of your screen, they're in one world. Category 3 and 4 on the lower section. All the riders, though, on the same course, in parallel worlds, all riding the same parkour and terrain, and all, of course, competing for prize money, because all the way through, every Sunday of the year, Emma and I get to tell you exactly how much money you're going to be getting. For our Category 4 riders, it's 2,160 AED for the win, and running through to 432 AED for 5th. Now, each and every qualifier, as we run through the month, has that individual classification. When we get to the monthly final, not only is there the individual prize pot, but there's also the team classification. You can see that's 10,800 AED for the winning Category 4. And this is our base level. This isn't just in total. This is the base level of Category 4. When we move from Category 4 to Category 3, it jumps up. 3,600 AED for the win in the qualifying races for the individuals, down to 720 for 5th. And in the team classification, the winning team, 18,000 AED. So, jump from 4 to 3. It's not going to take Einstein to work out that between Category 3 and Category 2, guess what? It goes up again. 6,000 AED now for the win, running to 1,200 AED for 5th, and a team prize of 30,000 AED. So a substantial raise at the end of the month in the team competition as well. And of course, for our very top level, for our Category 1 riders, when we move from 2 to 1, it's humongous. So today, racing in the qualifying races, if you're 5th, 2,000 AED in Category 1. If you're 4th, 4,000 AED. If you're 3rd, 6,000 AED. If you're the first loser in second place, 8,000 AED, that's no loss, and in top spot, a huge 10,000 AED for the win. When we get to the end of the month, 5,000 AED, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, and a massive 50,000 AED for the win in Category 1. Massive prizes for our riders all the way through the Sunday Race Club, equaling the men's and the women's prizes. And we know we've got riders coming from around the world, so we're not just going to tell you in AED. Oh no, we're not just going to do that. We are also going to tell you somewhere around the world in Emma's Exchange. The first Emma's Exchange of 2024 is from
New Zealand. We are celebrating Scott Francis being the first rider to attack in the men's racing on the Sunday Race Club for 2024. 10,000 AED, 4,363 New Zealand dollars.
Or, of course, he can go to the United Arab Emirates and spend his AED. We will see if that's the case. Okay, we've covered Category 4, covered Category 3, we've covered the prize money. I think it's time to move across to our other world, into the other world of Category 1 and 2, and it's going to be Category 2 who are going to set off next in those green jerseys with the gold number 2 on the back to denote their category. Okay, Category 2. Let's do the teams first of all. The Wattage Wizards, the ever-present UAE Falcons and Hubbards. So, Wattage Wizards, people like Carsten Mayer and Ruben Dont. Dont, well known for his attacks from the race start. UAE Falcons, Ahmed Al-Tanaji, Hassan Al-Remethri and Zaid Hamdan Al-Remethri on this climb. That's going to suit him. Hubbards, Walter Clays. Clays has been a class. Clays is for class. And that is not a direct translation. That is exactly what it says. His middle name says absolute class
Walter
on there.
Class Clays.
Indeed it is. So we'll run through the rest of the race field in a second because it is massive and it's stacked full of talent. Emma's going to run into the detail, but let's get our riders away in Category 2 here on MyWhoosh, on the Sunday Race Club, on the first qualifier of 2024. And away we go. Happy New Year, happy Christmas. We're heading off. Let's see how fast they set off. And will we see a lightning quick attack? Tatu Koistonen just having to sprint onto the back here.
He wasn't watching, was he?
Well, that or at that moment in time, the chain slipped. That can happen. I've had that happen. The chain comes off. Tim, who works with us here in the commentary behind the scenes, one of our research teams, actually, he was racing and sprinting. And when he put it up into the big chain ring, when he sprinted, he'd neglected to change his chain frequently enough. And what happened? He put his foot down on it and it went straight off the side. He went into the handlebars and then had to jump, put the chain back on and sprint back up. That can happen. This is,
it can happen
perfectly
anywhere.
possible.
Incidents happen
everywhere.
On a turbo, on esports, as well as on the road or on the mountain bike.
Definitely. So we've just seen Walter Class Glaze on his way through. Emma, take us through some of the rest of this race field in Category 2.
40 riders on the start sheets today in this Category 2 race. And really interesting to see, we talked about Walter Clays. He came up into Cat 2 from Cat 3 last month. We've had a number of other riders move around. Francis Pino has come down from Cat 1 back to Cat 2. Miller Stick has come up from Cat 3. So has Trojanowski. He has also come up from Cat 3. Nicholas Spratt is here. Simmons is here. Graves is here, who took the win in the December final. Kranich, Sultan, Gombert, Quadrelli, Carvajal, Quintero, Parisi, Bengston, all in the mix at the moment. You don't forget, you can join the riders, the teams, during the week on the MyWhoosh platform with social rides and social events. The Wattage Wizards, part and parcel of the Wattage crew, with a ride on a Sunday. Likewise, Team Hexagon and the Anzacs, they are there on the platform for you to join. Find your favourite team, jump on. I'm sure they'll be happy to have a chat.
Every team ride I've been on, everybody's been chatting. It's been really, really nice. And thank you, everybody who sends us the invites, tells us when their rides are, what they're up to and what's on the move. Meanwhile, Phil Graves doing exactly what everybody else has decided. It's the first of the year. I'm going to have the first attack. Phil Graves going for the first attack in Category 2 for 2024.
Oh, I'm just going to nip back to our previous conversation because the latest update now gives you a 7-day calendar on the MyWhoosh platform. So you can indeed...
Yes, better than that. It's not 7. Are you ready? I did some copious notes. It's bigger than 7. Have a guess.
10.
More.
12.
Lots more.
27.
Close. 30. It's a month, basically. So the calendar now is extended to 30 days. So you can route plan. You can plan where you want to be and what you're going to ride, where and when. And just as exciting as that, probably more so for somebody who is an absolute competition fiend like me or Phil Grace, the new controllable companion bots are out. So you get 6 to choose from. No. Just listen to this.
I'm just thinking Graves doesn't need a companion bot.
Or maybe, no, but he does, you see. So if you enjoy your racing and you want to race, but you're thinking maybe, I want to do something just a little bit different because, we all like a little bit of variety, a little bit of a change. You want to change it up, spend a lot of time training, particularly if you live somewhere near the extremes of the hemisphere. If it's really cold and wet for months on end, or like here, it's everywhere's underwater, you don't want to ride, you can actually race it in a companion bot racing. So you can pick 4 out of 6 team riders and you can use them to actually give you a different team. You could get a sprinter, a mountain climber, an attacker, a smasher, a climber, whatever you want. All that up for grabs. Who's got those in their team? Well, I could tell you one team. It's in Category 1. It's the UAE Clan team who are riding in Category 1. They have a bit of everything in their team. So let's take you through the teams. We've got the Coalition Alpha as your team. Lionel Vajastin, Michael Kaminsky, Ollie Jones in there. The Humans team, Daniel Arato, going to be heading them up today. Pain Toasted, well, Bjorkland, Jochums, and Plantero are the Pain Toasted or Pan Toasted. And of course, the UAE Clan team, Michael Knudsen, Michael Vink, with Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic, and SS. The band are back together again. The UAE Clan team, they don't need robots. They have some of the best riders out there. Can they be beaten today? We will see.
Well, it was Coalition Alpha who took the team competition in the December final. We are now in January. This is a completely different year. It's 2024, no longer 2023. Who can take the top spot today? Michael Knudsen should be back on the start line. He was not on form, not well in December. Great to have him back. We are indeed in with him. And it was Bart Vanden who, back on the, look at that, Bart is back.
Yep, they are back. We have got lots of riders back with Bart van den Eek out, the rider who's distanced off the back, has made his way in to the group. We've got another rider going on the attack, Vidal Mayer, this time round. Thank you, everybody.
I think they've all had a chat with each other. It says one rider must go off the front from the start.
But this is the racing evolution. I'm going to be looking after we finish the Sunday Race Club today. Remember, of course, MyWhoosh, the UCI partner for esports. I'm going to be transferring from esports across to cyclocross, which I cover for the UCI on their world feed. And I was looking at the evolution of courses of the Zonhoven cyclocross, my favourite cyclocross race route, and how people race it. And that has evolved over time, even though the course is basically pretty much the same, even though they do tweaks and little changes, just like we see on esports. But how the riders ride it evolves, not just with the different riders, but just riders' tactics change. Here, we've got, boom, from the gun, they're off. It's like an instant charge away. And yet, it's riders like Vidal Mayer who are absolute class. He's not like, this isn't suicide
what's
break.
Really, really interesting is these Category 1 riders not wanting to let Vidal Mayer get away, like we saw in some of the other categories. So Mayer with a 3-second gap, but it was Vink and Knudsen, the 2 UAE Clan teammates, who went out to bring him back. He's still out there, but he has not got the distance that we saw in some of the earlier categories. But we have got riders in trouble. Take a look at that bottom left-hand corner of your screen.
So easy to have an issue to get caught out, to get distanced on the way through, to be taken out the back. It could well be, you know, some days you just don't feel it. You get on the bike and you just go, whoa, who transplanted my body? I've got somebody else's. Well, you do, because you get on it and you just like, you get on, you think, all right, I'm super smooth, I'm going to be ready to spin, it's going to be a great day. And instead of me being Saad Carradine with Saad Carradine's amazing race form, you've got Saad Carradine going, God, I've got Matt's body today because it's not working really well at all. In fact, he's hardly moving.
Well, while Matt is having an out-of-body experience on the other side of the studio, Saad Carradine is pushing on here. He's gone with Osborne, Jochems and Mayer. The riders are 4 of them. They are up and away. Osborne is chasing. Vujasin is in there as well. These riders, look at that, 11 knots per kilo from Vujasin. They does not want to let this go. Zach Nair in the mix as well, but now 2 seconds back with the chasing group.
And the problem is, if you are in that chase group, you let a half-decent group go, one of these days, you just cannot afford high stakes. The bigger the stakes, the less chances people are prepared to take because of the stakes that are out there. Pablo Popovic very quickly closing it down for the UAE clan team, a man who has momentum absolutely dialed on this platform, really, really strong for that UAE clan team. Mistakes 100 is the same, a rider who's been riding on this platform for a long time, very strong, and today's climbs will suit him down to the ground.
And should we have a little chat about that, because this course is really, really interesting. So for the first 21.9 kilometres, it is pretty flat. There are a series of bridges and we go through the caves. Those are the only real features on this first 22 kilometres. Then we hit the climbs. We've got 2 category 2 climbs, the first of which is 5.5 kilometres long with an average gradient of 6.1%. This is the steepest climb of the day, and it is the first climb of the day. There is then a transition section, or the flat, rolly, bumpy section, 3.6 kilometres before we get to the base of the second category 2 climb. 13.5 kilometres later, the checkered flag.
And that checkered flag at the very top of the hill. Basically, flat first half, big climb, second half with a little break in the middle for Emma's flat rolling, a bumpy section. This is the first of our sprints. This is the Amazon Lake Sprint with our riders going through in categories 1 and 2. SS, as you saw, taking the green sprint skin suit. Interesting move by SS, going through at, you ready for this, 7.1 watts per kilo. He was really pushing his way through there and broke the group apart a little bit. It fractured, it then reformed. Vidal Med, Jason Osborne, Arne Jacobs working very, very strongly to try and keep the gaps down and to try and keep it a little bit together. No one wants to miss a move.
Well, I'll tell you something, that our Category 2 riders are riding at a good, strong pace today.
Are.
And interestingly, going through there, it was our Category 3 riders who were moving the slowest. So Category 4 looking like they had more of a push on than Category 3. Currently, the push on in Category 2 is coming from Spratt and Simmons. Those 2 riders pushing on. You can see them just with the short gap on the group, but the group moving hard and moving fast. It's Parisi and Andres who are at the front of that chasing group. Bjarhead is there as well as Mayer. Those riders looking to Simmons and Spratt, but Simmons and Spratt continuing to push. Now these riders obviously wanting to keep the pace high.
They are. And they are also riders that we know are going to be aggressive at the start. They're not just going to wait for that big climb. Category 2 is really competitive. Emma thinks Category 3s and 4s were some of the most competitive. It's so difficult. Every category, of course, is a flexible category in terms of the boundaries based upon the number of riders and the ability levels of those riders. And that level, the first step in working that out is the Power Passport. That's something that's been updated in the latest update from MyWhoosh, which is the 3.5.1. So make sure, if you're going to jump on, if you haven't been on for a little while, dive on board. Make sure that you get the latest update on there, the new Power Passport. So Power Passport, basically, instead of having an FTP test, which is a really Matt's utterly hated, numbest tool in the world ever. It's like using a sledgehammer to decide whether you can play the piano. It is not It is not the way to work out.
Controversial.
It is. It's absolute. If you can do an FTP test, well, it tells you can do an FTP test well. It doesn't tell you whether you can sprint, whether you've got short distance power. Don't get me started. My soapbox is long and big and very, very full for this one. I find it absolutely numb. It is for me that we're really blunt tool. If you take the power passport, that is taking different interval lengths of power and ability to give us an overall picture, and that is where we take the first of the data points to give you a category, and of course to check that you're doing what you say you can do and you're not actually doing it, in my case probably with nitrox, to try and keep up with this lot, to give you some jet assistance, because the pace is really on here in category 1. The power that these guys are putting down consistently checked, and it's verified mid-ride, on the ride, and of course it's checked against that passport, and that is continual all the time.
It's all right. I'm imagining Matt now riding his road bike, jet propelled by a jet pack on his back with fire coming out of the engine.
That's me normally.
Well, it's
no.
These riders might have fire coming out of their pedals, but it's not from a jetpack at the moment. It is pure power they are putting down as they go up and over the bridge, and the stretch takes place on this category 1 pack. They're at 60 kilometers an hour as they swing round and off at the bridge. This is 6 kilometers into the 45-kilometer race. This is the first race of 2024 for the men on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. The women went to Belgium. The men are in Colombia. This is going to be a cracker of a race. Knudsen is back. Vink is here. Thiem, Martins, Nair, SS, Rato, Panizza, Jochems, Vujasin. They are all in this bunch.
They're absolutely flying, and they're on the way to the end of the Amazon Bridge sprint in what is going to be 200 meters time. So at the moment, absolutely flying along. Michael Vink is the rider we are watching, but SS has gone again. So SS going again, going for the sprint.
Sprints.
Yeah,
Wants the sprints.
Absolutely flying, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely adamant he wants the sprints there. He's already got the sprinter's jersey. Now, he's got the sprinter's jersey because in each category there is a sprint competition, and each sprint allocates points. So if you win the sprint, you get 5 points, second place 4 points, third place 3 points, etc. So the top 5 people coming through that sprint are awarded points. The overall points cumulative gives the rider in that category the green skin suit. Now, going through the Amazon Bridge Sprint, it was actually Ruben Dont from category 2 who took fastest time, 14.7 seconds. SS, who we saw go through just there, 0.7 of a second back from Dont's time in 15.5. Simmons in third, Von Harenmeyer, Ritter, Spratt, Gates and Van Hee, indicating that that category 2 pack was moving faster than the category 1 pack through that sprint section.
So SS, the only rider, and we saw him sprint away. He's extended his lead in the points, so making their way in through, looking good as they went on through that sprint, that 300-meter sprint, before they get in towards the finish. The time set by the category 2, though, generally quicker than category 1. Ruben Dont, one of our aggressive sprinters, has the green skin suit that matches the one worn by SS in category 1, and at the moment these riders at 11 kilometers, so they've actually gone through 3 of our 5 sprint sections. All the sprint sections today along the course counting for that points competition.
Well, one of the things I did want to pick up on that Matt was talking about earlier, we talked about category 3 and category 4 in terms of how many riders had been in the top 5 throughout December. And I'd indicated that the strength and depth in those race fields, given those numbers, was more than we saw in category 1 and category 2. Well, category 2, we saw 10 riders in the top 5 in December, so a little bit more domination from certain individuals. Category 1, we saw 11 riders in the top 5. Now, what is interesting today, and it's going to be interesting throughout January, is because we've seen quite a bit of movement, particularly into category 2 and category 1, as well as movement into category 3. So it is going to be interesting to see how that churn of riders and how that movement of riders plays out in terms of the number of riders in the top 5 in January.
Yep, quite agree. January is going to be an interesting month. I always think it's a really tough month if you are a road rider or a mountain bike rider in the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm going to add that very quickly, and you come out into January, you're then thinking about building up for potentially the classic seasons and so on. Michael Vink, a great case in point. You know, he's now thinking about having what's his road season going to be? Where is he going to be riding for the team? You know, whereabouts is he going to be needed for the UAE squad? What is he going to be up to? You know, a lot of the teams though are going to the Southern Hemisphere. We've just seen the start of the road season. And we got Tour Down Under, and at the moment, good friends with Sherry Pridham, who is one of the DS for the UAE ADQ team. They're heading off down there as well, kicking off the season. Really good to see how riders deal with the different seasons, different platforms, and of course, adding in all of our specialists who race on the esports platform. And we have seen a shift because, of course, Canada traditionally for esports has been very Northern Hemisphere based, where you've got the World Championships coming in what is the Northern Hemisphere's winter. But because the esports is a global sport.
Oh, I love it. It mixes it up completely.
Part of esports and part of being the UCI partner for esports 24, 25 and 26 means that MyWhoosh have moved the date, the UCI have moved the date, the championships now towards the end of October in 2024, and that means that we're going to see, I think, a bigger stretch and more of the specialists and more people looking at their scheduling on the way around. It's really going to mix up the calendar, whether you're category 1, 2, 3 or 4. Now, category 4 and 3, remember, set off first. Category 4 taking the right turn. They are going to hit the climb any minute. They are literally just round the corner from it, if not underneath the archway. In fact, I can see the archway coming up. That signifies that they are at the base of the climb. Category 1, they set off last. They still have some way to go. Yeah. They're at 10 kilometres covered. Another sprint from SS going through. He's going for it, Emma.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? 11.3 kilometres, the separation from the leaders in Category 1 to the leaders in Category 4. It was 20 minutes Category 4 started in front of Category 1. Will there be a 20-minute gap by the time we get to the finish? Well, they've just gone through the jungle sprint, and SS indeed has put the power down because it's looking like his target is the sprints today. So 14.597 seconds for SS von Haren from Cat 2. Just half a second back. Then Mare, then Dont, then Mare. And we're interesting to see the mix of yellow and green jerseys here. Popovic, Noren, Kaminsky and Keridine rounding out the top 9 from that Category 1 race field.
And interestingly, over the top, Emma, Vidar Mel, early attacker, has missed X100 for company. So the sprint comes, the riders ease off from the sprint, they come back through, and then you see an attack over the top. Classic road tactic as we head back in. We've completed the bridges, we're heading back towards the cliff faces, which means it won't be long before we head down in towards the subterranean tunnels, take us over the water and across. And in those subterranean tunnels, you can see our Category 2 leader, Olivier Simmons, in there, but that lead is tenuous. They are right behind him, being led by Krasnich, who now comes onto the wheel of Simmons. So Krasnich with the shaven head goes over the top of the rider with the white helmet, but look at that, they are right behind.
This seems to me, Matt, about keeping the pace high rather than a lone attack.
If you're not a climber, if you're not a pure long distance time trial climber, then this for me is the way to make it hard for them. Traditionally, climbers are, I'm going to say this with some bitterness, I warn you now, lightweight, skinny little, climbing supremos who can dance their way up the hills like a delicate ballerina. However, your average fast rider is not built like that. They are designed to go quick, fast with loads of power. Think big muscle car. But they don't go uphill fast because they weigh a ton. And it's that balance between the two. I can speak. I am one of those. I identify as a big sprinter. It might be a big non-sprinter, but I'm definitely not the lightest rider by any stretch of the imagination. And I mean, when I was riding national hill climbs, I was probably 10 kilos more than anyone else.
I find that so strange. You know, knowing how you ride and your riding style, you are very aggressive and very hard and fast in short, sharp sprints. How you rode all those national hill climbs, I have no idea.
But they were very short.
That's true.
Bear in mind the longest
2 minutes.
2 minutes. The longest hill climb in the UK is maybe 20 minutes. That's like a 10-mile time trial effort. But most of them are 5-6 minutes at the most, which is very similar to the climbs you have here. But if you are a bigger rider, you need to keep that pace high, because if you put a lightweight rider in the wind, traveling along the flat, it's about pure watts and speed. It's all about having big, pure power watts. If you can sit at 1,000 watts for a minute, you are going to put a climber in trouble on the flat. Mr. X100 here kicks off down the road, left-hand side with the steering, puts it up to 6 watts per kilo. He sits there. He's now going to push on. The riders behind are going to have to follow. If they can catch out a climber in the wind, they're going to have to push through the wind. They're going to have to put down the big watts. Look at the numbers. We're talking 400, 500 watts here.
They're really keeping it hard and fast today on this Colombian route. 46 kilometers an hour at the moment on the flat. They really are motoring.
Damage the climbers. Make their legs hurt before you get there. Don't give them a pure run at their favourite terrain.
Well, I find this so interesting because SS, Vink, X100, they are all part and parcel of that UAE clan team. And for me, some of the climbing favourites are in that squad. They do, and I think this is about strength and depth in numbers of the UAE clan team. Popovic, Vink, Knudsen, X100, all have performed phenomenally on climbing routes. SS, we know, is an absolute workhorse for the team and really the silent assassin in that team. But they're really trying to work the legs off some of the other riders, because over through December, we've seen some riders really hit phenomenal form. Kaminsky and Vujasin from the Coalition Alphajaw have been on absolute phenomenal form.
Yeah, Coalition Alphajaw really have hit this with a bang. I mean, they've got Ollie Jones, who tends to go for a longer one or for a climb. You've got Vujasin, Kaminsky. I mean, they were doing ones, they were exchanging first and second places for fun, and yet you make them suffer. And I think for me, it's part of this is choosing to ride at your pace or choosing to follow a pace. If you ride at your own pace, it is easier to do that. Go for a short sprint. So going back to your point earlier, Emma, kick hard. For me, that's kick hard, make it hard. Get somebody to go with you, wait with them, do another turn, come off, really make that hard on the way through. Make it difficult for the climbers coming in, and do it on terrain that doesn't suit them, where it's about pure power. They're going to do the same when you get to a climb. You know that you're going to have that, and I think that's what we're seeing here. I think the UAE clan team are mixing it up early because they want to make the racing hard.
Well, I think they
don't want to go in fresh. Everyone going in fresh to the finish.
I think they also want to re-establish some dominance here.
Oh.
You know, Knudsen was out last month due to illness.
Yep.
And Coalition Alphajaw took the no. I almost want to take those words back out of my mouth, because Kaminsky, Vujasin, Noren, Martins, Nair, all those riders who rode so strongly last month was not because the UAE clan team were out of form, but it did open the door for what we started to see over the previous months, is riders and teams being competitive to what was the absolute dominance of the UAE clan team. Coalition Alphajaw, the sweet potatoes, took the 1-2 in December. The UAE clan team took the top spot in the November final, but Do Not Give Up came a very close runner. So we've seen quite a lot of mixing it up, and riders not just waiting for the traditional results.
Yeah, I think there's been a bit of a reset and a refresh.
There has.
You see, at the moment we've got SS going through the sprint, puts the sprint down. Mr. X100 comes to the top, backs off the pace here now, and they're mixing it up. I think we've also seen a bit of a reset with the UAE clan team, because you can't, I mean, you made the point earlier, you cannot be on the ball.
You can't.
Absolutely at the top of the top category in the world, going out and hitting it time and time again. We're seeing SS up
hitting
in the
it time and time again
on the sprint, but it's doing sprints. When did we last see the UAE clan team target sprints. You've got Mr. X100 right up in the mix for them, but you've then got a real mix of riders, and Martin Martins is in that mix there with that fast time. Bear in mind, Martin Martins, he was flying maybe 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and now he's had a little bit of a dip, and then is he going to come back even stronger again? And I think what we're seeing here, there's been a bit of a reset from the UAE clan team. Maybe it's all the fireworks that went off in the UAE. Absolutely fantastic. You want to go celebrate in the world, anywhere.
World Championship, not World Championship, World Record. That's the word I'm looking for.
World Record fireworks
World
display.
Record firework displays.
It was indeed World Record fireworks, and they're all over the country, all over the UAE. Lots of great places to go and watch that, whether you're in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. Make sure you go over one New Year and watch. It's absolutely stunning celebrations that don't just last one day; they last for days and days. I mean, absolutely brilliant celebrations when we get on a cruise. But going back to this, maybe it's a reset for the UAE clan team, and they've come back in and thought, do you know what, we've got Michael Nussbaum back. We know Michael can climb. Is he on form? We don't know. So let's go hit it and let's see what happens and let's mix it up. And that is what I think we've seen.
Well, talking about climbing, Category 4 are well and truly on that climb, and it's looking like a group breaking away now. This is Category 2, and Simmons and Carsten Mayer still clear, you know. Dont is doing the chasing, and Dont has a small gap, but it's really interesting tactics. 19.7 kilometres into this race. They are not yet at the base of this climb. Yeah, well, I'd be a little bit tired too by now.
Yeah, Olivier Simmons giving it the flat battery back. That was a Matthew Van der Poel, so my back's giving it.
Yeah, we all know what Van der Poel's like.
Yeah,
my back hurts. Oh, see you later.
No, so here we go. So I think you can do that if you go out for a ride on MyWhoosh. Quick interruption. Make sure you do that. Honestly, it brings a smile to my face every time I do that. Nearly as much as it doesn't bring a smile to my face when I do the one where it's your turn to take a turn on the side. So you put it down, your turn to have a turn, and they don't take it to you. And you're like, oh no, really? But you can do that. Just right hand side of the user interface down at the bottom. Sorry, but let me just dive back into this. So Olivier Simmons, Carsten Mayer are going like express trains. They've got another gap on here. They are riding it to make it hard. Really interesting. The riders, though, know this course inside out. It's not like the first time we came here and everybody went, what's this bit in the middle of the two climbs? And you call it the FRB section. You know, this is not new terrain. These riders know what's coming. They know how long this is. They know where the sprints are. They know where the climbs are. They know where they need to put their effort in. SS, I mean, he's not just off for a jolly today, taking as many sprint points as he can.
But also, we talk about this pace really early on. If you are with the group at the top of the Medellin City climb, which comes at 27.4 kilometres into this 45-kilometre race, it is likely you will be with the group for a sprint finish. That is the nature of this course. So for me, that finish line target is at 27.4, not at 45. That is the crucial point for me on this course.
Yeah, big selection point at the top of the first time. Little way to get there as we've just gone through the Mompox City Sprint, the final one of our sprints. SS leading through the fastest time, 22.104 seconds. Slightly higher power there in terms of watts per kilo, 7.9, which means that his average watts are higher as well, over 500 watts kicking through that sprint. His heart rate has fortunately also raised 5 beats on its way up, but by no means a high heart rate. But that means that he has got some pace, some speed, and he's got Mr. X100. They've done this time and time again, and look at the gap they've opened. They have continued from the kick. Whilst we were checking out the results, SS kicked through.
Yeah.
Mr. X100 went with him, and this time they've caught the bunch napping. They've gone, and they now have 13 seconds. They're at 19.2. This could give them a head start on the climb. Remember, that climb starting at 21.9. It's not far.
No, it's not. And that group behind are going to have to work, and they're going to have to push on those early stages of the climb to bring these two back, because we know X100 can hold. He is great time trialist. He can sit around just over 5 watts per kilo for a significant period of time, with SS there to help him as well. This is going to be really interesting. 17 seconds. That is a big gap, and that is going to drive the work on that climb. But it's looking looking like the Chase group are going to wait until that climb to start their effort. On the right-hand side of your screen, that is the start of the climb for the Category 2 race. It's a huge pack of riders, but there is indeed a breakaway.
There's a move being made here to try and start to bring back Olivier Simmons and Carsten Meyer, who are 13 seconds down the road. Ella Lamy and Graves and co are on the way here trying to get back.
That sounds familiar. Category 1, 13 seconds down the road. Category 2, 13 seconds down the road.
Or was, because it's going to yo-yo. No, let's keep a check on this. I'll tell you what, Category 1, it's not. It's 23 seconds.
They are motoring. And I tell you, the group aren't interested yet.
Look at this. Jacobs has, I've just seen Jacobs come through 3.2, 3.8. Ratos in there, 2.6.
They are waiting now for the climb.
I would love to see them wait all the way to the base of the climb and then for them to pursue them on the way up the climb and see whether they get the time right.
Well, they're going to have to pursue because it's going to be 35, 40 seconds by the time they get here at this rate.
That's very different. Come on, SS. Come on, Mr. X100. I love an attacker. Well, you can tell from how I ride and my gung-ho lunatic usual.
Really interesting. Pablo Popovic came to the front of the group behind and immediately came off the pedal down to 2 watts per kilo and slowed the front of that group down, allowing his teammates to really continue to stretch those seconds.
This will be a very interesting
They're 400 metres clear.
Yeah, they've got several hundred metres. They have got a reasonable gap. 30 seconds, half a minute now, so they've hit half a minute. Our 2 leading riders, Mr. X100 and SS, in the UAE clan team. They're on the front, and Michael Fink is the man. Even if they don't make it, Michael Fink and Michael Nussen have just had an armchair ride. They shouldn't be on the front. Yeah, Pablo Popovic. He should. I mean, he's a man for the FRB section and for some of those twists and turns on the upper climb to put in a dig on some of those steep sections. This is giving them a ride because there's no way you chase your teammate down.
Well, we were on the Paso Alto in the November final, and it was Vink, Popovic, Knudsen, 1, 2, 3.
It was, and I think this is going to be about making sure you're smart and using the other riders on the course. Now, we've seen a catch here of our 2 leaders in Category 1. They take the right-hand turn towards the climb. They have caught 2 riders from, in fact, 3 riders from Category 2, and that means that they get a little bit of assistance, but the Category 2 riders are going to try and jump on board here. Jano picked along with... I think that is going to be Mohammed just trying to stay with them. But look at the speed of SS and Mr. X100. They've gone straight through. They've gone straight past. They hit the base of the climb. That clock is starting. Where are the chasing group? They're 30 seconds behind. And now Michael Knudsen has gone clear. He's seen that he's got 2 teammates up the road. He has attacked. So this is a very smart one. He's gone away. He's not bringing them across. He's got 6 seconds. They're not sighting his draft. And I think he's realised if I get across the 3 of us together, that will make 3 UAE clan team at the front. This will be the time to go. And remember, they're all talking to each other on their team radio.
Well, I have to say, I am sat aghast in the studio because no one is trying to go with Knudsen. You really want 3 UAE clan team teammates 30 seconds up the road?
I think the answer to that is going to be no, but who's going to do the chasing? We've seen the watts per kilo lift. They're up to 4, 4.5, 5s, starting to pick up the pace. Instead of kicking and using that anaerobic energy, that massive dig to kick clear, this group are slowly winding it up. They're like a big steam train at the moment, just opening the valves a little at a time. But you know the steam train can do 200 miles an hour. They are starting to wind up. The momentum, once this gets going, is going to be very difficult to stop it. But they are currently winding in slowly, and that means they're going to burn less energy. They're going to be less in the red, and they're going to get there in a smoother manner. That might be the difference, and it might be when we get to the top of the climb, Michael Knudsen is regretting going for this as much as he was regretting having his hair shaved off.
Well, this is no flying Scotsman. This is a flying pack of yellow jersey Category 1 riders on this mountain. They're on the Medlin climb. They are absolutely motoring. The average gradient 6.1% up here. It's a fairly steady climb, and this gradient on this first Category 2 climb much steeper than the second Category 2 climb, where the average gradient is 3.6%.
Right hand side of your screen, Category 1. Left hand side of your screen, you can see Category 1 leaders. Same category, 2 very different points in time on the course. They're separated, it looks like it's only 200 meters, but it is actually pretty huge, because remember that when you are traveling at speed for the same time, you will cover more distance. Simple physics. Or not so simple, depending on how good you are at physics. For our riders in Category 1, they're on the climb. They know that the distance, the physical distance, will be less, but they do know that if they keep on pushing, this is going to open up a gap. Now, Knudsen had attacked. He's currently at 12 seconds. Michael Vink is now kicking at 7.5 watts per kilo in pursuit, and I think Michael Vink is trying to drop the rest of the riders to get to Knudsen, to Mr. X100 and SS. He's on the front, and the rider that is sitting on his wheel at the moment, that looks like that is going to be Lionel Vujasin with Jason Osborne in there. So when we've hit the first slopes, everything has been let loose. They've let the dogs loose. They are out and away. And now the pressure is on Vink, just being passed by Johan Noren. They're coming onto the back wheel here of Michael Knudsen, and it's now 9 seconds. That gap is being eaten up and swallowed alive.
Noren was climbing well in the final of the December 2023 race, taking 5th place on what was the Jebel Hafid, so a big climb at the end of that course. There's a climb at the end of this one as well. 19 kilometers of climbing in total today in this 45-kilometer course. So Noren, Vink, Vujasin and Osborne heading the chase group at the moment. X100 and SS is down to 3 seconds.
Left hand side of this screen, you can see the radar view, the satellite navigation, 2 distinct gaps. We are seeing riders being distanced off the back of the main pack. This is the lead group. It is one group. We have got our escapees caught. They're back in custody. Who can jailbreak go clear? Who's going to be out and away at the moment? Noren is the man who is setting the tempo and straight on his wheels. SS is here. I tell you something, the New Year's resolution from the UAE clan team was to race every single second of today's race, and they are doing that today because they're either making the moves or they're covering the moves.
Well, Noren's beard is glinting in the sunshine at the moment because the skies are blue and the hills are rolling. Noren leading this now. SS Van Elst, Kaminsky, Vink, Osborne, Vujasin, all in this leading group as they continue to push up the mountain. There are multiple splits in this group now, this Category 1 pack that came into the bottom of the Medlin climb together, no longer together now. You can see on that left-hand corner 3 distinct groups, in fact 4, because there's one even further back.
Yep, really is splitting here. The leader's going to come into this tight right-hand hairpin turn, and in front of them are a train of dot-to-dot breadcrumbs up the hillside for them to chase, and that is where it does give the incentive, if you're struggling with the pace in the group, to actually kick on, try and get in front, and then focus on the riders in front. If you're in this group and at the back, you are dancing to everyone else's tune. You're going to be coming into the turns later. So if the front group come into a hairpin and the gradient kicks to 10%, they're going to be kicking through that and over the other side. If you're at the back of the group, you're going to hit that same steep section, but the front of the group will be disappearing off away from it, and it means that you are on the whip end of the tail. You are going to get cracked off the back of that group pretty quickly. You cannot stay on those wheels. You've got to be up at the front of each group to be in the best position, but everybody knows that, and everybody wants to be there. The screen is full of orange and red chevrons as everybody is on the limit here. They know that selection point Emma was talking about earlier. You might not win this on the medaling climb, but if you're not in the leading group going through, you're pretty certain to lose it.
Those groups are coming back together again, though, Matt. I'm looking at that picture on the bottom left-hand corner. The gaps look as though they're coming down, which is interesting on the climb because we would be expecting them to go out. Now, there are nearly 700 metres of climbing still to go in this race. And for those of you who have not raced a bike up a mountain before, imagine that 100-metre running track times 7 going straight up in the air. That is a huge amount of climbing as we see this leading category 1 pack sweeping round these bends, and those groups, it is coming back. You know, there's a squeeze on behind, coming towards catching the back of that leading group as riders start to straggle off the back and start to touch the front of the group chasing.
So here we go, first of one of the first of our Category 2 riders. Going to see the Category 1 train go by. They're going to be able to get a grandstand view as they pass them. This is a long line of riders. We always say if it's a big ball, the pressure's not on. If it's a long line, they are going to be trying to put people in trouble, and that's what's happening at the moment. Michael Vink now on the front, the UAE clan team rider with Jason Osborne in there. Osborne, one of those big names always to watch out for. The Olympic medalist at the moment, already having to fight for position. Now let's take a change and go from Category 1 and 2 to the parallel world of Categories 3 and 4.
They are up and over the medaling climb, and they are on the flat rolling bumpy section, the transition section between our two climbs. It's 3.6 kilometers long, this section, and what we are seeing now is the leading group in Category 4 being caught by the group of Category 3. Actually, it's not the leading group in Category 4, is it?
It's the leading group, but not the leading rider. I think
true.
we have one rider
down
away.
The road. We do indeed.
has gone, hasn't he?
Indeed.
20 seconds down the road, and he's on the right-hand side of your screen here. So it looks like the chase is on the left-hand side of your screen in Category 4, chasing Joshua Kalangag. On the right-hand side of your screen, Category 3 in the blue jerseys, Ivor Shaw. He's going to be in that polka dot, and he's going to take them on to the climb. The second of these climbs.
It's a big chasing group.
It's a big group, but we've got to remember, I mean, the average gradient is 3.6% across the entirety of the Bogota climb. There are steep sections and steps in there, but it is more of a time trial effort than it is a hill climb effort.
Well, and I think we're going to see, I think we've got 3 Category 3 riders in this group, meaning that's 3 riders in the lead on the Category 3 race. They are catching. Actually, it's just 2, she says, scrolling down through there. So it is Søren Davidson, 2 riders from Category 3. Then we have the chasing group in Category 4, Smithson, Montoya, Dadson, Caro, Columbi, Kalman, Allport, Enrico Quadrelli is well in there as well. So some really strong names in that chasing group. Can they hang on to the back of these 2? Well, the answer is no.
It is no, unfortunately for them, because if they back off too much, there is another group of riders in the red in that Category 4 competition behind. Now, we saw Michael Vink was pushing at the front of the race, being chased by Osborne, and it looks like Vink's pressure has broken him clear. Immediately behind him in Category 1 is Pablo Popovic, who is marking Jason Osborne here. They know that Vink is going to be able to go up, and in fact Popovic is trying to put Osborne, I think, under some pressure here, and maybe just to hurt his legs a little bit more here, because Popovic is he's trying to close on Michael Vink. Vink has the higher watts per kilo, and I think Popovic is saying to Osborne, well, if you can't stay with me, you certainly can't stay with Michael Vink, because he's going even quicker than we are.
Well, Vink in 1 now, nearly 10 seconds up the road. Popovic and Osborne, the 2 riders we are looking at, 4 seconds back. Noren Vujasin, Martins, Kaminsky. all in that group. That is a strong chasing group. And then a little further back down the road, it is SS. So 1 rider, 2 riders, 4 riders. They are continuing to motor up this climb. There are seconds between them, but the rider at the head, he might be looking over his shoulder at the moment, but he's not seeing a Category 1 rider coming round that corner yet, is Michael Vink. So Vink now 12 seconds up on Osborne and Popovic, the 2 chasing riders in Category 1. So at 27 kilometres into this 45-kilometre race, Category 1 leading rider is Michael Vink. Michael Vink started 20 minutes behind the rider on your screen at the moment, Joshua Callangad. He is our Category 4 rider and is still currently the leader on the road. So Callangad, our leader on the road. The rider behind him is the leader in the Category 3 race, Ivo Sur. He's 2 seconds behind Callangad, and I think we are shortly going to see the leader in the Category 3 race and the leader in the Category 4 race come together.
In fact, I'm not sure it's come together or just be passed. Look at the speed of Sure Go, but Callangad is kicking 5 watts per kilo. I just saw come out of Callangad to kick on to the wheel. Now, these two need to time trial the way up. There are pursuers behind, Davidson and Kalman in categories 3 and 4, but Kalman has company. Ian Lloyd in there. You've got, I think, Kaluma's not all that far off the pace of Kalman. It's a real mix in there. Luke Allport, another rider who we know is very, very strong.
And there's a fine line there because you want to push, you want to stay, but you don't want to blow.
Definitely going to be really, really tricky. Now let's jump back from categories 3 and 4's world back into the world of category 2 and 1, because we have SS at the moment just distanced a little bit off the back of the group. He's in 8th place at the moment. The times on your screen is indicative of the time that they are on the race route. Vink, Noran Popovic, Martins, Kaminsky, Osborne, Vajasin, Jones, Jacobs in the mix, but look at the time differences. Jones and Jacobs nearly 50 seconds off the pace of Vink. Given that this group came in pretty much together, that is very telling.
And the chasing group,
pace.
14 seconds they lost.
That's really not going to be very good news, is it? As they come up here, Michael Vink currently 14 seconds clear of Vujasin, Kaminsky, Martins, along with I think Noran in that group.
That's a huge effort.
In as well.
Look at the huge effort going in by Vujasin at the moment, and Martins and Osborne. They've gone onto that flat rolling bumpy section, the transition section between the 2 climbs. This is the opportunity to catch, and we have seen catches being made here on this transition between these 2 climbs, but the riders really have to work for it.
FRB equals flat rolling bumpy. The FRB section, so named by Emma on our first trip here, has remained so within the commentary. It's something to put into your glossary of
one of those
commentary
things
terms.
I really wish I'd never said.
Oh, there's plenty of those in my time, believe me. Can't say this many words without getting a few of them wrong on the way through. So the flat rolling bumpy section is on its way. Well, I'm not going to let you forget. It's a flat rolling bumpy section for these riders to come through, but it is what it says on the tin. It does that, exactly. It is flat, it rolls, it's bumpy. You've got to be able to do all of that terrain.
Sorry, look at the size of that Category 2 leading group. It is huge. That's what, 16 riders in that leading group?
Yeah, maybe.
Ish.
That's a good ish. I like the word ish.
14 riders in that leading group.
A voice in my ear told me it was 14 riders.
I know,
He's pretty good. He's got some good counting.
Yeah, production teams are great.
They are. Ours is better than most. So let's put it that way. They're better than everybody else's. We like them. We do. They're very handy for telling us when we can't count, which is frequent in my case. So,
anyway.
Let's head back into the racing. So we're in with Category 2 on your right-hand side. On the left-hand side, well, it's a solo Category 1 rider. UAE Clan Team rider Michael Vink is back on form. He's attacked on the first of the climbs, the medaling climbs. He is transitioning through the FRB section towards the point where he can start the second of our climbs at 31 kilometers. At the moment, he has traveled 30.1k. He's got some turns, some junctions to do, and then he will be on to the climb. Meanwhile, category 2 leaders, they've just taken the left-hand turn and are approaching the climb banner. They are going to make the way on. It is a monstrous sized group of riders that hit the Bogota climb. This climb will finish 500 meters before the finishing line of today's Sunday Race Club.
Not forget, there is still 14, yes, 14 kilometers to go.
14?
When you hit the bottom of the climb.
I'm going for a coffee. See you in a bit.
Well, whilst Matt goes for a coffee, there's no coffee breaks for our Category 2 riders as they continue to push. If they've got an espresso in their water bottle, it'll be cold by now. It's 52 minutes into their race. Carsten Mayer, Philip Graves, Ruben Dont, all keeping track of the front of that pack. Now keeping track a little bit further down, it's Michael Vink who's continuing to plough his way through the back of the Category 2 field, ignorant of what is going on behind him, because do you know what? The Category 1 race just doesn't care.
It doesn't matter. You know,
he's on the front.
Yeah, he has. He's had his espressos. Mine was indeed cold.
Was it?
It was, yes. But knowing when to drink, whether you're a commentator or a cyclist, is really, really important. The skill to be able to drink when you're on the bike and moving and putting in an effort, really, really key. Now, it is easier when you are sat on a turbo trainer or a smart bike at home than doing that out on the road or on the mountain bike. But that skill, doing that and still being able to put down the effort and knowing when to take on board fuel and hydration. 2% drop in fluids, that's about 20% drop in performance. You do not want that to happen, so you've got to be taking on board those fluids. Really, really important. If you're new to it, you think, oh, I'm just get the fluids down. If you maybe been really experienced, it's very easy to get into bad habits like not drinking enough when you come off. One of the tips a lot of people will tell you is to wait up before you get on to the race and do the same when you come off, and then you'll know just how much you have lost in fluids, because you're not going to have lost it in much else on the way round. You can't just drop it off on the way round down the road. So really, really key. Get an idea, make sure that you're really well hydrated on the way through, so make sure you can do that at the right time. Flat sections are easier, or when it is regrouped, just like it is for us. Now, our riders on Category 1. SS, the rider that we are in with at the moment in that green skin suit, has got Mr. X100 and Michael Knudsen for company. They are currently 12 seconds off the main chase group, with their teammate leading this out at the front, Michael Vink. In between this chasing group of UAE clan team riders is a big pack of chasers, and those chasers are working hard to try and keep Vink under control. They'll also want to sweep up the prizes from 2nd to 5th as they go through. The team here, I think they use their energy really wisely. I mean, that was great team tactics. You see Michael Knudsen, we've got to remember, he's on the way back. When you come back from illness, you come back from not being well,
takes a while. It
does, and generally I always think you can do a short effort, and you can maybe get a very similar power level to the power you've put down before, but you're going to struggle to hold that for a long time.
I'd agree completely. You know, sitting in the pack and putting in a short effort, is possible on a return from injury. The issue is holding a high pace for a long period of time.
And at the moment, he's got the advantage. He's following SS and Mr. X100, who are towing him up to the chasing pack. This was 11 seconds, this gap.
I tell you,
not 2 minutes ago.
SS is the hidden star of this team.
He's absolutely. Look at the work he's doing here. He's going to drag back in Mr. X100 and Michael Knudsen here into the chasing pack. It's 3-4 seconds. Even if they don't make it, they're more in touch than they were before, and it's because of the work that they're doing. They work so well as a team. They put the effort in. They made everybody else work. They really kicked into the climb. They gave Vink somebody to go for. They made everybody chase them, and then they launched out their decisive move in Michael Vink. Great team tactics. They now are looking to size this. They've probably just taken a bit of a breather, had a gel, maybe they've had a coffee, and then now on the way up. I mean,
not that Matt is addicted to coffee.
I am. Hello, my name is Matt, I am addicted to coffee.
Well, Michael Vink is addicted to winning because
He
he is
yeah.
continuing to push on towards potentially his first win of 2024. Martins Osborne, they are part and parcel of the chasing pack with Noren that keeps yo-yoing away from X100, SS and Knudsen. Jonas Bjerrehead, the Cat 2 rider, is desperately trying to hang on, but they are moving at such a pace. Knudsen's kicking 7 watts per kilo, adamantly wants on the back of that group, and the group is coming back.
And they're doing that on the flat. The key thing here, it's a flatter section. As the group in front hit this 1-2% gradient, the group in front will slow off. You charge across the flat section into the back of the group at the end of a flat section. If you don't make it before you hit the climb, you're probably not going to get on. So great timing and understanding of where to ride. Same if you're riding outdoors. If you're going to chase onto a group, chase on so that you catch them just coming into the climb, because that means that you can use the right amount of speed. You're making the most of the flatter section to keep your speed up, get back on, and then they'll slow off when they hit the climb. Well, unless they've got Michael Vink in the leading group or the group that you're trying to catch, because at the moment he's going uphill even quicker. Still, he's just catching this big pack of Category 2 riders. They've put the fox in amongst the chickens at the moment. The Category 1 leader is making his way through. This should take him to the very front of the Category 1-2 world. He will be the first rider on the road, I'm sure, fairly quickly. But the Category 2, if anyone can stay with him out of Categories 3, 4 or 2, Category 2 leaders should have the power. You don't get this far up the road without being able to climb.
Now, he said the top of the first climb, the Medlin climb, was absolutely crucial in this race. And going over the top of that climb in Category 2 were 14 riders altogether. Those riders are still together, and Michael Vink has caught them. He has gone through the pack. What is going to be interesting here now is to see what Vink does, whether Vink keeps that pace on and whether any of these riders try to go with him and break away from this leading group.
I'm just watching the watts per kilo here because Michael Vink was going up here between about 6 and about 6.5 watts per kilo. We've seen kicks from Ruben Don at 6 watts per kilo. He's onto his wheel now. We know he can do that. We know people like Phil Graves can, Spina can, Basin, they can kick, but they can't necessarily maintain that, and that's going to be so difficult. That's on the right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side of your screen.
It's making me
They're
giggle.
at it again.
Well, they are indeed, and it's X100 who was doing the towing with SS and Knudsen to come onto the back of this group, and they've gone onto the back, and now X100 is joined by his teammate Pablo Popovic on the front of the group.
What tactics? Because remember, Popovic was sat in that group, marking the group. He had an easy ride. He wasn't going to chase down Michael Vink. That wasn't going to happen. He's now got Mr. X100 taking him up the road, and Popovic may be the fresh one here.
Knudsen's
coming across.
Knudsen.
Oh, look at this. They are making the racing happen here today, and everybody else, it's going to be alarm stations. They are all there, and call to action has come, and this is where people are going to be found wanting, whether they've got the power or whether they haven't. They've got to try and stay with them now. This is tough stuff in
I'm going to make a
Category 1.
prediction.
Go on.
I'm going to make a prediction that Vink will take the win, and then it will be a sprint for the other positions in Category 1.
That's not you've not really gone out on a limb there, have you?
No, I haven't.
That's definitely
I've just gone by what I would like to see.
I think you're probably not far wrong. Okay, Category 1 and 2, top of world, across the top. Bottom of the screen, your Category 3, 4 world. Category 3 leader is actually the furthest man down the road. That is Ivo Sjur. Sjur is being chased by a pack of riders behind, as well as a solo rider. So Ivo Sjur leading in Category 3 on the left bottom of your screen. Brett Davidson is sandwiched between him and the riders on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, which are the leaders in Category 4, plus the chasing pack in Category 3. This, though, is across only 200 meters of course. Sjur to the chasers, 200 meters. This is going to be tough stuff. It's just starting to stretch as Sjur hits the flatter sections here, and the group behind hits the steeper section.
It's a huge group behind, isn't it? That Category 4 group with the Category 3 chasers is a huge group. So they are continuing to tap their way up this mountain. They've got still a significant distance to travel. They've still got Sur has 6.7 kilometers till he sees that checkered flag. The chasers behind seem content to sit in what is a very large group. Davidson, well, he is in no man's land between the two.
And he's been pretty much equidistant on the way through. Davidson sitting about 45 seconds or so behind Sur and about 45 seconds or so in front of this group, dependent on the terrain. Remember, of course, these are live based on the speeds of the riders. So if they hit a steep section, they will slow relative to the rest of the riders. If they're on a flat or downhill section, they will be faster, and that will mean that the time gap goes up. Meanwhile, back in Worlds for our Category 1-2 World, this is Michael Vink. He has got company. Maybe he's feeling a bit lonely. Then because he has backed off the pace here down, because we're seeing 5.5s and 6s. He's put the gap. He's got the gap. He's got some company. How long it lasts, we will see, but this is doing some damage. Now, the Category 2 riders will have known this was going to happen. They will have known that they were likely to be caught. They'll have been keeping an eye on the Category 1 riders, and this is where they have to be smart. It's no good being the strongest Category 2 rider, just thinking you're just racing a race that is affected by Category 2 riders, because just like a handicap race out on the road or the track, you are starting to see riders come through from Category 1. In this case, it's Michael Vick, and those people who've got something left will try and go and look at the damage that's being done. This was a really big group. We are starting to see riders slowly but surely come off the back, because Vink is riding at a pace that is putting people in trouble.
Well, it was 14 riders, and you would expect that Vink should well be able to push on for a lot longer than those Category 2 riders. They may well be able to hold this for some time, but they do need to be very, very careful, because they will not hold this all the way to the end like Vink. So there is a really fine line between holding the pace, pushing on and creating a gap, and the red mist descending and your heart rate just ticking up too far and not being able to continue. So Spratt here has been distanced. Nicholas Spratt is the rider distanced. So the gap's now back in the group. So Spratt being caught by the chasing group. So 14 riders up the road, 1 Category 1 rider, Vink, 13 Category 2 riders. They are ahead of this chasing group of Category 1 riders. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 riders in this chasing group. It is full of class. It is tapping on the pedals. We've got Kaminsky, Noren, Osborne, Popovic, Vujasin, X100. They are all in here. It's 30 seconds back to Arne Jacobs. Nicholas Spratt getting a toe at the moment. Can he get a toe back to the rest of those Category 2 riders who are up the mountain?
I think it's going to depend on what the terrain does. If it's going to be consistent state and it's going to be fast, he'll be able to take enough of a toe. And I think it is a massive but. This is a climb which has steps and raises in it, although they're not that steep. We're not talking 17, 18%.
No.
It does vary from 3 to about 8%. And that is substantial. That is enough to break a rider. He is going to get a lift up to Matthias Van He here. Van He is going to see the group come through. Is he going to react? Has he got anything left?
He's going to have to, or he's going to lose his place to Spratt.
He has, and he's moved up. Just going back to something you just said earlier there, 30-odd seconds back then to Arne Jacobs. He's also got company back there. Jacobs has got the company of Gombert in there and SS as well. He's not all that far behind them. That is going to be really interesting. Category 2 and Category 1 riders together chasing. And I think they're starting to work together now. Another attack off the front. Yeah. No prizes for guessing. The UAE clan team are back at it again. It's Mr. X100 on the front now. Is he looking to go and make this a 1-2 with Vink in 1, with himself in 2? Kaminsky and Vujasin surely going to have something to say about that, as is Osborne and Martins. they are going to want to come back across.
Well, I'm looking at the riders who've been able to stay with Vink at the moment. Kranich, Graves, Andres, Dont. Ritter is 3 seconds back. Ospina is 4 seconds back. Anders Bengston is there as well. So this is now looking like we've got 4 riders from the Category 2 race stuck to Vink's wheel and able to stay there. And then we've got 3 riders chasing a little further back.
And I think the result of this race is going to be dependent on whether Michael Vink sits at a consistent 5.5 to 6 watts per kilo after that initial effort that he's used to take him clear. Bit like you see in a cyclocross or a crit race. You don't have to go faster everywhere. You just have to go fast enough to get a gap and then stay at that pace.
I tell you something, Michael Vink's heart rate's currently at 150. I can tell you, I bet those Category 2 riders' heart rates are a lot higher.
Oh, yeah. Through the roof, I think is going to be the phrase. Now, left-hand side of your screen is the Category 1 leader. That is Michael Vink. I'm just seeing him just drop down 0 watts per kilo here. So
I think Vink's got an issue.
I think there's an issue for Vink here out on the race route. Now, who's going to be able to profit from this? Apologies for just jumping off Ivo Sure, who's leading the Category 3 race. He's still got about 4K to go. So we've got a little bit of time to come back in with our Category 1 race here. Sure, yep, just under 4K to go. Left-hand side of your screen, this is the Category 1 chase group. And I'm going to say chase group because if Michael Vink has an issue, let's say, for example, he's dropped a bottle, he needs to pick that up, or he has got to go have something sorted out, he's got to get back on board, and he's having to make the ground back up here to the group. Now, that time, when you stop in a race, all of a sudden you're doing 0 miles an hour, 0 kilometers an hour. Oh my goodness, does the group come up quick? And that time hemorrhages incredibly quick. I think that gap has gone down to 47 seconds or so at the moment. Michael Vink is going to come up, and now he's going to go past this. This is the second group.
And the challenge is here that somebody is able to stay with him, and that is exactly what Moritz Ritzer has done. He has jumped onto Vink with Vink's come past and has utilising Vink to dig deep to get the toe back to that leading group of 4. In fact, that entire group of 3, the 3 chasing riders in Category 2 are utilising this opportunity to dig and get the gap closed.
Well, I tell you something, they are doing an amazing job to be able to match the pace of Michael Vink, who's kicking on here. So it is going to be Michael Vink on his way up the climb. He's come through at speed here. Whether he's coming through fast enough to distance them, I'm not so sure. You can see a response coming. Gray's very attentive to the front when it being caught. On the left of your screen, Category 1 and 2 leaders are together. They're on the climb, and they are fast approaching 5 kilometers to go on our 45-kilometer route. On the right-hand side of your screen, Ivo Sure is clear. Equidistant to Davison with the group behind Emma. They need to do something and do it quick.
It's really interesting because Sir now with 3 kilometres to go. It's a 50-second gap back to Brett Davison and then another 50 seconds back to the chase group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 riders, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's a huge chasing group, and it contains the leader in the Category 4 race as well.
Yeah, great ride by Joshua Kalangad leading the Category 4 competition at the moment. He's not got a definitive lead though. I think it's only 10 seconds from Kalangad to the riders behind you. You can see that on the red dots on the right hand side of your screen in the navigation view on that sat nav radar view. Meanwhile, back in the world of our Category 1-2 riders, you can see Mr. X100 chasing hard here with the group behind. Now, making it hard, Mr. X100 is sitting at a pace we know he is going to be able to hold. The rest of the group are staying with him at the moment as we go onto the flatter section. It's going to be faster, then it's going to kick again, but we've got a big, long, flat step coming up. So if anybody kicks into the flat and through it, they could get a gap. Are they setting this up for another move here with Mr. X100 making it hard on the base of this step and then a kick? They're coming up on more Category 2 riders, and it could be the timing is going to be right to kick through them just as you come onto the flat.
I think with the quality of the group, it's going to be very, very difficult to shed anybody in this last 5 kilometres. You're going to have to do something really special to shake this group up. This group, I think, are going to come into the finish line all together. It is just such quality within this group.
That is such a gamble. 5 prize places at stake at the top of the standings. Bearing in mind that Michael Vink is looking pretty untouchable up at the front unless he has another issue and has to stop again. That should take one of those prize places away. That will leave 4 prize places between the group on the left-hand side of your screen in yellow. That is not enough to go round. That means that if I was in that group, would I want to gamble? It's maybe a 50-50 chance of taking away some money today. No chance. I would want to be attacking every time that gets steeper. That you need to be making a move. You want to be trying to break that apart, and you need to be making those moves by looking at the riders in front as well. Now, here we go. Johan Noren puts in a 10 watts per kilo dig on the front. He saw that they were coming up on riders. He saw it was going uphill as well. So he's used the gradient, the terrain, the momentum, and the draft of those category 2 to get a march on Popovic, Osborne, Simmons, Knudsen, Vujasin all in his wake, and now Popovic is trying to come back to him.
I said you had to do something special up here to break that group, and Johan Noren has tried to put the hammer down, but Popovic has matched it. Knudsen is going too, so is Osborne, Vujasin, Kaminsky. They are all there, one long line up this mountain.
So here we go, coming in towards the final 4K. We are starting to see this group break again under the pressure of the attacks that are coming here on the Sunday Race Club. We have Noren on the offensive in second place on the road with Michael Vink up the road. You've got Osborne, Kaminsky, Vujasin and co all fighting for position behind. Can they take that group back? This is going to be really tough today, and Noren is the man who's making the upper slopes very difficult indeed. In terms of this group, at the very front of the race, Michael Vink has left him in his dust. He's still surrounded by riders in the category 2 lead competition. That is on the left-hand side of your screen. The right-hand side of your screen, we're in our parallel world for category 3 and 4. Where category 3 have swept away the category 4 after catching them for that 5 minutes, and there is now a race for the finish. A solo rider, Ivor Shaw, leading. He now has over 1 minute on Brett Davidson, who has started to lose time to the chasing group behind of Kirchner, Giuliano, Kochekov. You've got, I think, Ragiosas in that group as well. Giuliano in there, Elos. This is going to be very hard for Davidson. He's going to have to dig deep in those final few K. Meanwhile,
Noren is still pushing. Noren is pushing off the front of that pack. Popovic in 2, Knudsen in 3, Kaminsky, Osborne, Vujasin now 3 seconds back as Noren continues his domination off the front of that group.
So Noren clear of the chasers in category 1. Meanwhile, Michael Vink is trying to shed the category 2 riders. He'll want to go over the line without it being masked by those category 2 riders coming up and through. Graves is just about holding his wheel, but Vink has stepped it up to 6.5 now, 7 watts per kilo.
They can't go with him, surely.
Well, they shouldn't be able to go with him, I don't think, by the time they get to the top of this climb. And if they do try and go with him and blow, they are risking, they are gambling, going backwards through the pack.
What's so interesting, you're seeing them kick, rest, kick, rest, kick, rest to try and stay on Michael Vink's wheel. Really interesting tactics from Kranich and Graves.
Really desperate tactics being employed to stay with Michael Vink, who, remember, has caught them for 5 minutes on the road. The man who set off 5 minutes behind category 3 is Ivo Shaw. He's on the big screen at the moment. He is the man who has gone clear. He distanced Brett Davison. He distanced the chasing group behind. And at the moment, Ivo Shaw is looking good. He's at 400 meters to go. Right-hand bend, left-hand bend. It does level off a little bit. I think there is no danger to Ivo Shaw. He's going to be looking to set a very fast time up here. 1 hour 25 at the moment is his time on the clock. He's currently revving his way up here, 100 revs per minute. He is going to spin his way up and over the top here in an attempt to keep that pace high. Davison now at 1 minute and still just about holding off the group behind, but boy, is he working.
Well, Ivo Shaw, part and parcel of the Silver Snatchers, the race-winning team for December's final in 2023. Well, this is a new year, this is a new race, and Ivo Shaw is going to take the win for 2024 on the Sunday Race Club. Category 3 win to Ivo Shaw.
Great ride by Ivo to take victory. Brett Davison chasing all the way towards that UCI banner. The official esports partner is MyWhoosh of the UCI for 24, 25 and 26 with the World Championships coming in October. Davison on a great ride here today.
Well, Brett Davison has chased hard, he's chased long, and he's stayed clear of the chase group behind. Brett Davison coming through to take second place in that Category 3 race as we watch Kirchner kicking at 11 watts per kilo to beat the group in for third. Caligula is going to get fourth. Gakes, I think, will take fifth in that Category 3 race as we drop back in to Michael Vink.
And Michael Vink has now distanced those Category 2 riders. Krasnich, Graves are battling it out behind him. Ospina, Andres, Dont, Ritter all suffering. Meanwhile, left-hand side of your screen, this is the chasing group, or what is left of it. They are trying to put the moves down. We're just seeing a gap open up on the front as Jason Osborne has decided that 43.9k covered. It's time to make the move. We've not seen Osborne open the magazine and fire a shot yet in anger, but now he really has put the power down because he's at over 8 watts per kilo. Norrin is trying to go with him. He's the nearest rider to the back wheel of Jason Osborne, but they're not going to touch Michael Vink. Vink is going to lead this in to the finish for Category 1. Behind him, the chase is on behind in Category 2, and that is much closer because 2 riders are in contention for the Category 2 win. Phil Graves and James Krasnich, the 2 riders who are going to be sprinting that out for the win in Category 2, but your Category 1 leader in the polka dot skin suit, not in the yellow because he's been the fastest climber of the day consistently. It is Michael Vink who can see that finish line.
Vink looks up, he can see the UCI banner. That is the finish line for the first qualifier in Category 1 of 2024. And Vink has shown his dominance on the climb. He takes the win in qualifier number 1. Kranic comes through, Graves is on his wheel. This is the Category 2 win. James Kranic kicks, Graves can't go with him. Andres is kicking behind, so Kranic comes through for the win. Graves in 2. This is the run for second place in the Category 1 race. It's Popovic, it's Vujasin. Vujasin has got the kick. Will Popovic? It's going to be Lionel Vujasin from Pablo Popovic, from Kaminsky, from Martins, from Norrin and Osborne. Rounds out that pack.
What a race, what a run for the line. Think with Justin Popovic, Kaminsky and Martins, your top 5 in Category 1. Brilliant riding here today by our riders. Great to see the return of Michael Knudsen, the man on your screen, making his way up towards the line. I think he's tapping out what for him is a comfy pace. He can't resist though, putting in a little dig as Gallo goes over the top. Nelson joined up by his teammate Mr. X100, and today has been a day where the UAE clan team really did take on the action. A little bit of a club sprint for the finish. Nelson just going through just ahead, I think, of Mr. X100, separated by fractions of a second. Great teamwork here today by the UAE clan team. Vink takes away victory at the top of the standings, 1 hour 13:44.
It's amazing, isn't it? So Vingfu, Jasin, Popovic, Kaminsky, Martins, Noren, Osborne, Knudsen, X100, rounding out that top 9. In category 2, Krasnich takes it from Graves from Andres, Cat 3, Sir from Davison from Kirchner, and category 4, Kalangad came across that line in 1 from Allport in 2.
And don't forget, you can catch up with all of these results that are currently live. They will be unofficial and then verified on the MyWhoosh.com website. That's www.mywhoosh.com/results. Make sure you jump on the website, download the latest update, great new graphics. We've got all the laps in free ride now, taking you round lap after lap rather than sending you off exploring. We've got a new head-up display. You can get on that on Android with a 3 gig device now. And don't forget, of course, we want you to join us here on the Sunday Race Club. So me, that's Matt Payne, and
Emma Martin
can put words to the action. We can talk about how amazing a ride you are doing, because all of our riders are absolutely brilliant, and we've got to say a massive thank you to them for keeping us entertained. Make sure you give Emma a follow. It's at biking_Emma. Myself, it's at Matt Fixer Payne. We will be back for My Whoosh next week for qualifier number 2. You can catch up with me very shortly indeed over for more UCI partner action, because I'm going to be working with the Flanders Classics team on the cyclocross from Zonhoven, the latest round. In fact, going to be taken all the way to the World Championships.
Well, and you can join me next week on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. There's still time to register and get on. Entries are open for qualifier number 2.
It's going to be an absolutely brilliant race if qualifier number 1 is anything to go by. But time for us to say thank you to our riders. Thank you for watching. A big thank you to the team behind the scenes who make the game happen, and of course bring you the amazing pictures from the racing. But from Emma, from myself, it's time for us to say stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.